It is time. So this is crazy right now. If you don't know, the 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan PSA 10 card sold for $180,000 in an auction recently. That I think that's gonna hurt for a lot of people. Obviously, I think a lot of people are gonna be paying for this. People are gonna be spending not to flip it or to invest short term. Most people are gonna probably be investing in this card long term, but there's over 300 of these cards, and yeah, there's some people who have 10 of them, but most people don't have 10 PSA 10s. And I think a lot of people are looking for the BGS 10. And I think, there are people who have BGS 9.5s. And I think it's just because there's 317 of these cards, and there probably won't be any more added to the pot report because they're trying to control these because I'm sure that they're grading these cards harder now. These cards, there's still a large amount of them. Yeah, there are a lot of people, a lot of famous people and things want them, but the card market is really in a serious correction, right? Like the card market is in serious correction. Not only that, you're going to see a lot of other cards going to dip because of this, because people, for whatever reason, really because I think a lot of content creators made it seem like you have to get a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James or a Kobe Bryant card, and if it dips a little bit, it dips like 10 or 20%, and you don't have this issue where it may not dip as much. Like if you pay, which the height for this card for $720,000, and now it's $180,000, you, even if you're not even trying to sell, like you're thinking about it, it's like, damn, I could have waited. I could have waited to all this crap and put my money in when it's now $180,000, and asking people around, it's like, hey, last one sold for 180,000, but hey, I'll take it off for 250. You could have bought three of them for, $600, $600,000, than paying $720,000 for the car. That's something that people are like, oh my gosh, it may drop more. I don't know how much it's going to drop. I'm not going to say it's going to go back to $50,000, $48,000 it did before, but maybe 100,000. What if it gets to 90? I don't want to scare people, but if it does do this, then what? Like if you're investing, even if you're collecting, like people just don't want to just throw money away. Like if you can buy something for a much cheaper price, you're not gonna feel good. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you bought the Wayne Gretzky car for $30 million, but then it decreased and you could have just waited, a month or a couple months, and you could have bought the car for 500,000. You're gonna feel some type of way about it, and you probably could have had more money left over to buy other stuff, right? So that's the issue, and I think so many people over leverage, but also stretch themselves to buy all this stuff. But what does this really mean? One of the things that people aren't really thinking about is in the past, from 1986 to 94, you had the junk wax era. Not really for basketball, because 86, 87, honestly 88 Fleer, there's not a large amount of it out there. However, for football, you see a lot of it made. Baseball, a lot of it was printed and made. Basketball, you see a lot of it from 89 onward, really to about 95. And then they kind of toned it down a little bit. And then there was Allen Iverson and Kobe. They kind of made a lot of stuff. And Tim Duncan made a lot of cards. And then 2000, they kind of ramped it down a little bit. That's one of the things people are thinking, oh, it's going to overprint cards. Stay away from base cards. Yeah, base cards is going to be an issue. But really, what you really need to be thinking about is we're in a junk slab era, and people are just buying graded cars, and a lot of the stuff that's graded won't mean anything, and it's pop one. It doesn't mean anything if it's like a bunch of these cars that exist, and it's very hard to tell a PSA 9 from a PSA 10. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people are going to make, because they're buying all these graded cars that has like this number on it, and they're buying the slab and not the car. They're buying all these black labels. They're buying all these BHS 10s. They're buying all these PSA 10s. And it's PSA, it's PSA 10. You're wasting money. And this is not just happening with sports cars. It's happening with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's happening with Pokemon. It's just happening in cars in general. Because it says a 10, people are buying it. And if they're going to be stricter on grading, if there's going to be AI grading, there are going to be some issues with this. But also, you know, the reason why you get cars graded is for the authenticity factor and then tell you the condition. And you want the best condition cards. But I think people are just so desperate to get cards in a case that they're buying HGA, they're buying CSG, CGC, they're buying SGC, you know, buying BGS, PSA, KSA, all these other made up grading companies and experimenting with all this other stuff. And it takes time for these companies to build relevancy. And PSA is probably going to be the king, but like, this is the junk slab era, and they're sending everything to get graded. When last year, when the last dance happened, all vintage stuff, everybody who had junk wax era stuff, some of them put it raw and sold it, but a lot of people took all of it or most of it they had and shipped it in. They didn't even look at the condition. They just took it, filled out everything, and you know, shipped thousands of cars to PSA. A lot of it's vintage, a lot of it's Pokemon, and really anything and everything shipping to PSA, shipping to BGS, shipping to SGC, and just backlog of cards and cards and cards and cards and cards and cards. And then the people are gonna, all this stuff is gonna come back to PSA and all these other grading companies, and it's gonna be in these slabs, but it's just gonna be so many cards, and there's so many different things that people are experimenting with. And right now we are in a junk slab era, and I think the next thing is a cycle, and it's things that they overproduce. And I think they're gonna manipulate it in a sense of, next is gonna be the, not the junk slab era, but it's going to be the junk parallel era. Because if you're not noticing this, for basketball, for football, for soccer, they're coming out with more, you know, soccer is not that big of a deal right now, but basketball and football, you're seeing all these parallels are coming out. They're coming out with all these sets. Now Select is now in retail now. There is an increased demand, yes. How many of these people are going to stay in? Hopefully most of them. But a lot of people are just coming in because they could just see as guaranteed money. They could play the lottery and win a bunch of money. That's not how it really should work, and that's not how it's going to work long term. All these parallels are just ridiculous. I'm going to make another video on all this because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And they really need to, we're about to enter the junk parallel era because they understand, oh, people worry about the base cards, buy parallels, buy silvers and all this other stuff. And people are just going to look at base and silver, base and hollow. But really what you need to be looking at is all these other parallels too. Not just non-serial number, but also serial numbered as well. Because I think they're going to have one of ones, but then in that same set, they're going to have one of twos, and they come out with a bunch of other sets that are going to have one of ones and one of twos and one of fives. And you're going to have like 4 or 5 one of fives for each set. And then 5 one of tens. Like you're going to have gold, gold shimmer, black and gold, silver gold, you know, like whatever, tarnish, shimmer gold, tarnish gold, teal gold, whatever kind of gold. And then you're gonna have multiple 25 sets. You may have like a 20 out of 20 in this set. You're gonna have 50, 75, you know, 199, some random 54. They're just gonna be making all these parallels, a bunch of 150, 160, 200, 229, 250, 299 out of 500, like all this other stuff. But then you're gonna have your other stuff, your all these ices, you know, fast breaks, pink ice, purple ice, yellow ice, gold ice, silver ice, all this other stuff. And they're just going to keep all these parallels. And parallels won't mean as much anymore. It's like, oh, we need to just stop buying base and buy parallels. But there's going to be overproduction of parallels. And it's going to make all these graded cards. It's different when you have graded base and you have a bunch of graded cards. And it's like, grading can be kind of junk. I like graded cards, but I'm not gonna overdo it for stuff in a slab. Or base cards, it's kind of junk. For older people, especially if you have money, I don't really like base, so I'm gonna buy the silver. But they're gonna overproduce the silver and the hollows, so let me do these other parallels. And then they're gonna overproduce those. And then it's like stuff that you need to be buying is 101s or 102s, but there's gonna be so many of them. And there's gonna be so many that people are gonna be chasing and paying these high dollar amounts for them, which is an issue. And I think that's the next thing. I think we're going from the junk slab era and we're gonna be entering the junk parallel era. And then I think people are gonna get into autos and patches and they're gonna overproduce those, and those are gonna be the next things. So yeah, that's my video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you disagree, agree with, and just start a debate, start a conversation.